That's not. Don't dash. 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 Big guns round here on the dun-dun. You don't even want to know where they come from. If you want one, it costs $2.5. And we got firework like July. What you want to buy? Need the product. When it's time, y'all shot. Up, what shot what? Just a sky, cause no one's a target. You heard proud of that? That's some hard shit. You heard proud of what? That's some garbage. That's nonsense. So what a content. But I don't let that fake shit phase me. I can't fuck with y'all full gazy. The name's 80. I'm wavy. When the fuck boys hate us, they gon' hate me. But they won't do shit, they soft like pastry. If there's a problem, let me know that. A bullet in the vid, guns will show that. L got the south, he's asking where the stove at. Look with me, he's asking where the hoes at. I got too many bars where the dough at. If he holding out, hold that. I've been hot all year with the snow at. 3 mixtapes 1 year, all crack. The streets been waiting, but I'm back. I'm the best right now, that's a known fact. I shoot anywhere, chest, stomach, don't.
Oh.
Don't back.
And that's not
it don't matter as long as he gets clapped. And you know that my dummies all with that. All he asking is where the stolen whip at. Duck down when you hear a big stick clap. Welcome to the Dundas, bitch, niggas stay stressed. Southside chain, come around here, get one to your brain. Ain't an old man, but I push that cane. Look in my eyes, you'll see that pain. Since 16, been in this game. Grinding, stacking, gotta maintain. In the trap, rolling up, Mary Jane. I'm rolling up Mary Jane, my dun-duns go to blocks to make it rain. Ain't talking about throwing change. Lives get snatched like change. Dumb boys, you know what I claim. I rap cause I can, you niggas want fame. All the heads keep telling me do my thing, but I've been doing my thing. Ain't what the bitch, that bitch was a fling. Phone bling, raw boarded. Anytime my phone rings, all week, same clothing. OT, so my phone's roaming. Ride outs, whip stolen. Every nigga riding with me holding. Our niggas blocks just strolling. For butt dog, Henny pouring. Stay winning like Jordan. On the other side, we scoring. Kicked her out cause she boring. She talking, I'm ignoring. If it ain't money, not important. On the deep south where it's scorching. If I see a gator, I'm torching. Joking. Niggas talking about what they gon' do, but I never seen them in the streets yet. Pull out game ain't weak, nigga. Nina already know that. Draw fast and blow that. Niggas sleeping like Snorlax. You ain't hype, boy, you better relax. You ain't hype, boy, you better relax. My bean came from rehab. 2 days he relapsed. Ride around your block, nigga. Swear I done about 5 laps. All you hear is 5 claps. Tires squealing. After that, you gon' need a doctor like aftermath. Shots ringing like after class. I'm good jab. Shout out to Crash. Fiends on the rock. Damon Dash. No hero. How to stick flash. When you hear my shit, put it on blast. Put it on blast. Toronto's best. The rest trash. Getting cash. Every rack I make, throw it in the stash. Where you from, my nigga? Dundas. Throwing shots, better think fast. You niggas broke, go get a cast. Where you from, my nigga? Dundas, with them guns blast, better run fast, or get done fast, don't be a dumbass. I'm D-U-N, I'm D-O-Y, dollar sign, I'm D-U-N, I'm D-O-Y, dollar sign, I'm D-U-N, dollar sign.
I was enough of that.
I'm pulling up in a few. Niggas don't know what to do. Like just taps into it. Like if we're not trying, every time someone plays, I notice my actions, everything is connected to the song. Yeah, it's weird. Yeah. Whoa.
I notice my actions and turn comes on, everything's connected to the song. It's weird.
What are you talking to me? Look at the price on the jeans. I got no time for a tease.
Zero.
Money is all that I breathe. I got my tricks on my sleeve. Like a bit of a freak. Yo, they just came out of the womb. Didn't be speaking my truth. You never stepped in my shoes. I'm pulling up in a few. Niggas don't know what to do. I'm checking out of the loop.
It's crazy. That dude on a motorcycle would be my grandmother, grandfather's age, basically.
I got the blood in my veins. Yo, I got more gold on my chain. Nigga, I'm going insane. I'm taking all of the hate.
I spend all my money on stuff I can eat.
I keep my ducks in a row.
Medical
I keep
care.
that bitch on her toes. Whoa, when you step into my zone,
You got
give
a
me a
nice
hit on my
collection of
phone.
stuff.
I get it over the low. Yo, pull up on your block, roll up please, yo. Chillin' with the homies makes it easier. I can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. I can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. Pull up on your block, roll up please, yo. Chillin' with the homies makes it easier. I can sip on 40s, I can sip
That
on
was
this all
Herbie.
night. Right?
That was totally
I
Herbie.
can sip on 40s, I can sip on this all night. All night.
Not listening just to us.
Yeah.
Over here. Over here.
What are you talking to me? Look at them price on the jeans. I got no time for a tease.
That person looks at you like they're almost looking at you, like they're talking to you. They're almost looking at you. You keep thinking there's somebody behind you. You keep turning to look, see there's somebody. They're acting like you're interrupting them. Yeah, right.
I'm pulling up in a few. Niggas don't know what to do.
I'm
taking all of the
You
loot.
just want to smack the person. But their head keeps going at that weird angle, you're going to fuck it up. I wonder why the top is aluminum and the bottom is steel.
Vito Rizzuto was the head of the Montreal Mafia. Now, he was a man with many enemies, but Rizzuto died of natural causes.
The Mafia. A secret order dedicated to Cosa Nostra. This thing of ours.
You violate what you know about this life, and you're gonna burn in hell like the smoke is burning in your hands.
Ruckus. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. Cause I'm getting on now. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Had more respect for the crack, not rap as people get, cause they blast you with a Mac, and that's that. It's fucked up how niggas want my head over fame. It's a shame, cause I love their mind. Insane like G, but not quite like me. Wanna
Damn, it's a shit about renaming Dundas Street West. Ever since I pointed out, there's a town called Dundas, and y'all ain't interested in renaming that town. That'd be simple enough. Rename the whole town. Yeah, if you still name it Dundas on a letter, it'll still show up. But technically, it's right Toronto, Ontario, or Scarborough, Ontario. The shit still shows up. These niggas rolling around wearing gold, popping tools, all black, everything, black flags, calling themselves after the name. It's the name of the street they grew up on. But it's just so rebellious. Like, I can't think of a fucking plantation owner. So there's lots. I know shitloads. But like, whatever the fuck the plantation owner's name was, if you can get away and then start up a gang in a military and fight back and use their same name while you're doing it, that's kind of fucking turning shit around on them, isn't it? Oh, you're not gonna tell us shit useful. I know you're not. If there was a shooting 10 minutes ago, you still wouldn't tell us.
kind on my grind. Fuck yeah, I'm a hood hopper. I'm well known all over. My niggas is connected with AJ. Everyday's payday. Mervin will kill you if you kill me and burn your kids. Paranoid, keep a 9 mil, make your guts spill. Lay there in a pool full of blood. You're a fraud. Your life's on pause. Mine, that mine is next. Only heard none yet. Life dedication.
What y'all got in your friend? What y'all got in your friend? Y'all got me. What y'all got in your friend?
Million. Fuck your reasons, you don't listen. Be strong, my career is in God's hand, not mine. And definitely not yours. We're hard to the core, dear Lord.
We've been here before. Mission impossible. Survive death more than 20 times. In dark crimes, you're worth a dime. B.I.G. ready to die. Thug like Block 50 before he got shot. Waiting for them shots. Ain't afraid of nothing. Listen, little bitch, come get it. I can't be a conscious rapper. All my life been a gangster, a mobster, fucking monster. Fuck you haters. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. They wanna shoot me down, click, click, pow, pow. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. Niggas wanna hate, cause I'm getting on now. You can't shoot me down. No, click, click, pow, pow. No. Niggas, used to guns. 10 guns before. Bobby murdered 20 guns. Yeah. See, that was the real niggas is. Shit is real bitch ass niggas. Stop threatening fucking bullshit online. Come in real life. We with it. Let me less. Try to dumb it down for these niggas and be conscious. But this is real life shit. You gotta talk about it, nigga. Yeah.
I forget to mention
RapTillDeathRecords.com. Malcolm X video. We'll be on Much Music. We'll be on Vivo. We'll be everywhere in the fucking
the
world.
fuck is Vivo?
Either you like it or not. Hate it.
Track's like 2 years old and fucking thing's already Vivo. What's that? What was Vivo?
All these niggas saying they rocked up, but none of them ain't got diamonds. Right, they not riding. Only thing I'm ducking is a cop siren. I'm out driving, going constant island. Till I find hide about fire hydrant. I'm not lying, so stop trying. Why the fuck is you lying? Man, like you back at it again. But then why is that to look back to why I still ride? These jump man. Lord have mercy, y'all, these niggas sound like ragamuffins. Mac, daddy, man, and I can't ride a jumping. Together, stack like one-on-one with Duncan. A crossover layer, maybe I might just stand with Duncan. Bodies on top of bodies, I had a coffins bunking, I pulling up in no front. American muscle that foot. Let's take it back to that raw. 10 minutes of that store. Pay fine, I got a number for. When the number show, that's 100 more. I got 100 cars on the daily boys for the rugged raw with a lines pop. Last cut from my Iron King, I got an iron boy with a press niggas out America. You niggas soft like why you niggas want to try me for? So now my niggas are spinal cords like dinosaurs playing Diana Ross to get my body across like an arrow does. Beware of us. New Toronto, we're old Toronto, same shit. Nah, just keep 6, cause 6 up whenever Drake snitch. New Toronto, we're old Toronto, same shit. Nah, just keep 6, cause 6 up whenever Drake snitch.
There's a picture of a Canadian train called the Canadian with the word Canada on the front of the train and the fucking, damn it, and the fucking maple leaf and Canadian flag on the word Canada on the front of the train. You might have noticed there's a maple leaf right there.
Yo, Jeezy, if I don't do, I ain't gonna see you over there.
Apparently we still run this land because leaves and feathers and money.
These niggas have been sweating it. Don't get out the bed for when I phone a nigga begging it. I'm way ahead of it. I'll rise upon a nigga letting it off. When it comes to this rap shit, the fuck this, and so is Jeezy low. Man, a greasy folk. I'm out for them notes, but I still keep it close. Case a man try provoke. That's 5 shots through his throat. Listen, if you know, then you know. I'm still on run control, shotting hoes, stashing knives in me clothes. If it's not your beat, don't get involved. You ride out to slap a nigga down, and no cases getting solved. Listen, I'm the shooter, you're the victim. I rode out with him and told police away with him. I gave me boy follow tips, slopes for the loot. Just said that's for that dude. The next day, gonna clip him. I'm back on it, niggas got the shotty, said I don't want it, I've got nowhere to put it. Plus it's out of bullets and I hate them shotguns, cause when it's beef I've never got nowhere to stuff it. I'm riding out with hangtings with bullets that expand. If a hitman by the barbers, he go land by pound land that he lost. So don't act like you found man, 8 bills for the Oz if you want that brown tan. Listen, I'm trying to stay low off the radar from poker cause I know they want me sub. They're still trying to find me from crimes that I did years ago, but I don't even give a fuck. I got fined once, they hit me with some threats, talk about they'll take the shit if I didn't pay the debt. You gotta cheat, little fucking threats. Tell them Jeezy, straight level closer to Toronto. You know what it is?
Show these niggas how it's back on my side. Yo. I'm like, bang, bang, shots fly like found in the park again. So flew like an angel with the darkest sins. You can't fly with the carpet wings. So I had to watch him sink like agnostic shit. It's like I built this on my own, no partnership. I did it solo. Nigga, this my nigga, so I shot it up solo. Word to my nigga, the clip spilled for the fofo. Yo, it really is, yo. And I'm like, word to my mother, this pop kills. And if I don't have it, then I know that this knife will. See where I'm from? Man, so got the tools across Liverpool. Man, turn your liver to a polar blood, it's that real. Cap pill, but the gas will. And the thing gets stashed in the backfield. And I'm like, niggas snaking and all that. You know, I'm fast, I took a break, but I'm taking it all back. Handles done smooth, pump short, cause I stopped that. Guns with suppressors like I'm ready for combat. Yo, K-Star, all these fuck niggas beyond that. It's one phone call, 7 niggas in all black. We ready, nigga. Hop back and blow deadly, nigga. Stays in my hand, can't talk it, it's too heavy, nigga. Yeah, hop back and blow deadly, nigga. Stays in my hand, can't talk it, it's too heavy, nigga.
Watch John Boris gonna have some bullshit to say tomorrow. Gun violence. He's going to praise the work of Mark Saunders. You know, the higher rank he gets, the worse the crime rate gets in the city. That's what it seems like. The health problems I got, and you ate, you did something, fuck all these things.
It's on now, we committed murders in life. For all you fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. For all the busted ass kids in the trap, claiming skill. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bill. It's on now, we committed murders in life. For all you fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. For all the busted ass kids in the trap, claiming skill. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bill.
I run at you like a maniac with a pencil, fuck the trigger finger, because killing you simple. A psychopath going to a brain, relax. Somebody better hold it down because he's about to attack. They tell me to relax, to stop, but take a breath. But the only way I'll get better is by witnessing your death. You can't stop me, motherfucker. Getting to you, ain't got no armor on my chest, but that's what get through your crew. These drugs they have me on, aren't affecting my brain, but the anger that I'm feeling is causing me pain. I'm coming for you, and there is nowhere to run. And when we meet face to face, you know it won't be no fun. Your end is coming near. Can't you feel it's close? Even if I have it for you, used to be harassed by my ghost. I'll get you any way I can, whether you wake or asleep. Just wanna see you die before I'm fucking dead in the street.
It's on now, we committed murders in life. For all you fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. For all the busted ass kids in the trap, claiming skill. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bill. It's on now, we committed murders in life. For all you fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. For all the busted ass kids in the trap, claiming skill. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bills.
I don't snatch chains like open throats. I don't steal trailers, I steal bones. I don't write tracks like flow on notes, instructing deep in shit and call it a poem. Raw, dirty, filthy, call me wrong. With the silencer pointed at your dome. Offering you the last call home. One of the sickens, clapping at chickens. Till the bitch stop flicking. Toss it aside and grab the next seat around my ride. Always down for homicide when the feet collide. I got enough to provide for all the haters that duck and hide. The quickest on the slide, so make sure your two brakes tied and stay inside. A bullet hitting your temple, but some batter should be elemental. Stay with me, keeping me gentle, not consumed by thinking of ways to fuck up your dental. Record over an instrumental. It's on now, we can hear the more of the mic. All your fakes perpetrating, living lives in your life. All the buff ass kids in the trap and the skill. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bills. It's on now, we can hear the more of the mic. All your fakes perpetrating, living lives in your life. All the buff ass kids in the trap and the skill. Live by the gun, so make sure you die for the bills. I'm a rapist with words, skillfully pillaging herds. Haters shanking their tongue through the thick of their shirt. Perfected linguists with demonic linguistics. Leave a pentagram life and I don't really give a shit. So cynically simple, ask forgiveness to be. But ain't nobody giving two shits about my state of being. I pepper shots from drive-bys on a Catholic school. Hear the strings and boom blasts from the picks of my tools. No escaping the hardy grip from the frozen heart of my chest. I flex a step and snap, next in the short of a sec. You push me, I push beyond the limits of pushing back. A veteran cat, desensitized from the fiends in the stack. The world's falling apart, ain't no one here to help you stand. We all victims of the compensation from the sins of man. It's getting worse, here comes the end from the start. Figure your way out or come and join me up in the dark. It's on now, we can hear the murders of life. All your fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buff ass kids in the trap and still. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bills. It's on now, we can hear the murders of life. All your fakes perpetrating, living lies in your life. All the buff ass kids in the trap and still. Live by the gun and we'll make sure you die for the bills. It's on now, we can hear the murders of life. All your fakes perpetrating, living lies.
The mind of a maniac, the mind of a lunatic, the mind of a native who ain't giving up, a native who don't give a fuck, a native who the a native of his crew. I got the mind of a killer, the mind of a maniac, the mind of a lunatic, the mind of a native who ain't giving up, a native who don't give a fuck, a native with the screws, but they the fucking screw up. I have a few screws and most people don't. I'm a crazy little bastard, full-blown criminal, savage through and through. For my warrior, I have known the game that I was shown. I keep to my own. I got a ill temper in a very short fuse. The patience that I got, you don't want me to lose. I'm known to blow up. I'm known for destruction. I'm known for the wicked. The wickedness of violence of the blood in my veins. And the ways I'll never change. I'm slowly going insane. She keeps fucking with my brain. I'm lost in the sauce. Can't find my way out. I'm from a small town and we don't fuck around. You can hate all you want. Shit ain't gonna stop me. I'm stomp up and down the fucking keep on romping. I'm romping and rolling and romping. This hut boy hustle shit ain't no gonna stop me. The mind of a killer, the mind of a maniac, the mind of a lunatic, the mind of a native who ain't giving up, a native who don't give a fuck, a native with the screws, but they the fucking screw. I got the mind of a killer, the mind of a maniac, the mind of a lunatic, the mind of a native who ain't
Oh, fuck. Ça, ce n'est pas un dimanche, c'est lundi. Hey, motherfucker, Jesus Christ. Like, as soon as you think I'm interested, like,
the mind of a killer, the mind of a maniac, the mind of a lunatic, the mind of a native who ain't giving up, a native who don't give a fuck, a native with the screws, but they the fucking screw. I got the mind of a killer, the mind of a maniac, the mind of a lunatic, the mind of a native who ain't giving up, a native who don't give a fuck, a native with the screws, but they the fucking screw up. I have a few screws and most people don't. I'm a crazy little bastard, full-blown criminal, savage through and through. For my warrior, I have known the game that I was shown. I keep to my own. I got a ill temper in a very short fuse. The patients that I got, you don't want me to lose. I'm gonna roll.
5, 6.5.
In shops in England should be made mandatory. Michael Gove adds that he encourages people to wear masks when indoors, especially where ventilation is not good enough. He also says that it's
Why
always
are
good to
we
trust people's
allowing
common sense.
inadequate ventilation in
Now,
buildings?
of course, the government at all times
The U.S. Army knows what sickle
does
cells are
look
with
at
deep
the
underground
emerging
military
evidence about what
bases
the best
and
way to
high-risk
control the
religious
disease is,
facilities.
if necessary,
Not the mobile
then, and
urban
if tough measures are required, as we've seen in Leicester, obviously a very
You know
different
what I'm talking
situation,
about?
then tough measures will be taken. But on the whole, my view is that it's always better to trust people's common sense, to give them a clear sense of what is wise, and I think that individuals and businesses are responding well to that lead.
People in England are only required to wear masks on public transport and when visiting hospitals. Prime Minister Boris Johnson said last week that tighter rules on wearing face coverings may be needed to stop a resurgence in COVID-19 infections, and that he'd like to see them more frequently in shops in England. Britain's confirmed nearly 290,000 COVID-19 cases, including over
People around here with
44,000
it.
deaths.
There's all the regular ass people.
Victoria State, Australia reported
now. They're all walking around with
273
fucking,
new coronavirus
they look
cases
like
on
they're
Sunday,
fucking, they're
the
about
sixth
to rob
straight
the
day
saloon,
of triple-digit
the
increases.
bank, and it's
Premier
1836
Daniel
or
Andrews
some
says
shit.
the number of cases in his state
I
has
didn't know
increased to
bandanas
almost
came with packages, pieces of
3,800
cardboard.
with
No, I didn't know they
24
had them like
deaths.
that. Didn't know.
We have
But I've seen them.
3,799 cases of coronavirus in Victoria. That's an increase of 273 on our last update. I'm very pleased to be able to say that there were 30,195 tests done yesterday. That's another massive testing effort.
A sudden surge in COVID-19 cases saw Victoria report over 200 infections on Friday and Saturday each. Andrews warned residents that this is a dangerous time and called on them to follow the rules to help curb the spread of the virus. Melbourne is under a virtual lockdown, and Andrews says they have no choice but to do what's necessary to stop the spread of the virus. Coming up, officials in Beijing say the city has gone 6 days without any new locally transmitted cases of the coronavirus.
The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour brings you an hour of comprehensive news and information from both China and the rest of the world. A mix of news, sports, and entertainment. In-depth analysis of the day's big stories, as well as the most comprehensive business of the day. The Beijing Hour, your very own window to China and the rest of the world.
16 minutes past the hour. Beijing's reported no newly confirmed locally transmitted COVID-19 cases for 6 days in a row. Xu Hejian from the municipal government says pandemic prevention and control efforts in the city have continued to improve.
北京已经连续14天 The daily number of newly confirmed locally transmitted COVID-19 cases in Beijing has either been single digits or been zero for 14 successive days. It's also the 6th consecutive day that the number has been zero, and the number of recovered patients is growing.
He's also urged people not to relax their vigilance, as the pandemic is still spreading rapidly across the world. 3 more places in Beijing have also seen their COVID-19 risk level downgraded to low since they've reported no new cases for 14 days in a row. The capital now has only 1 high-risk area, as well as 9 medium-risk ones. Beijing has so far confirmed over 330 locally transmitted COVID-19 cases since the first case of the recent cluster outbreak at the Xinfadi wholesale market was reported on June 11th. 95 of them have been discharged from hospital.
So you guys going to
China's General Administration of Sport says it'll cancel all international sporting events for the rest of the year, apart from the trials for the 2022 Winter Olympic Games. It's all because of the coronavirus concerns. Xiaoyi has more.
The administration has issued a plan to promote the resumption of sports events while carrying out disease prevention and control. It says China will not invite foreign judges to participate in sports events, and that its athletes and coaches who are abroad will not be required to return in the short term. The directive will affect several upcoming planned sporting events, including the World Finals of Badminton in Guangzhou, as well as Formula One's Shanghai Grand Prix. Deputy Director Peng Wei-yong of the Economy Department of the administration says, on the other hand, the preparation work of sporting events is going on smoothly.
Currently, most stadium and infrastructure construction have resumed work. We're also pushing the preparation work for event planning and safety emergency drills.
He adds that some important activities and meetings will be held via video link.
For example, the World Broadcaster meeting was held via video conferences. The Olympic Committee also participated in the annual meeting held by the International Olympic Committee press committee via video. Preparation for the Olympics hasn't been affected and will be completed on time.
The General Administration of Sports says middle and high-risk regions are currently not allowed to hold sports events and mass fitness activities. Low-risk regions can resume sports events after being approved by local government, but they must implement strict disease prevention measures. Meanwhile, the administration says that sporting events will gradually be opened to spectators who have shown a negative nucleic acid test in the past 48 hours. The crowd capacity rate will also be capped at below 50%. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Xiaoyi.
Scholars and former envoys have called for stronger cooperation between China and Arab countries to help cushion the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. They suggested cooperation in public health, e-commerce, and telecommunications during a video conference that was held on Saturday.
Speaking during the meeting, President Xie Fuzhang with the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences called for more cooperation in medical treatment as countries reopen their economies while trying to get the rapidly spreading coronavirus under control.
Now we are faced with tough challenges ahead, and a major undertaking in the new normal is how to enhance interactions in combating the pandemic, working together to find a vaccine and effective medicine to improve public health.
When the pandemic started to rage in the Arab world, China delivered medical supplies and shared its experience in combating the disease. China also sent medical experts to aid Arab states. Professor Hamid Al-Nami is chancellor of the University of Shura in the United Arab Emirates. He says it is crucial for the two sides to share knowledge as they deal with the pandemic.
Chinese National Biotech Group and Group 42, a UAE technology company, signed an agreement to produce together a COVID-19 vaccine which is truly inspiring. Today's webinar is one more example of this important partnership.
Wu Sike is China's former special envoy on the Middle East issue. He says the stable cooperation between China and Arab countries has enabled some sectors to continue to thrive, even amid the current global crisis.
I have noticed that even as we fought against the virus, our cooperation in various fields didn't halt. Many projects are still being carried forward, especially in the fields of technological innovation, medical service, and public health.
Official data show that trade volume between China and Arab countries reached over $266 billion in 2019, up 9% from the previous year. Arab countries have attracted over $1.4 billion of investment from China, up 20%. Xie Fuzhang with the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences says the two sides are looking to forge cooperation in telecommunications, 5G infrastructures, and new energies.
We will continue to promote cooperation in every sector, from traditional ones such as energy and trade to new sectors such as digital economy, clean energy, and 5G, which show huge potential for growth in the future.
Chinese companies are now looking to expand their foothold in the vast Arab world. E-commerce giant Alibaba has been trying to tap into the fast-growing market by operating a cloud computing center in Dubai. Auto giant Dongfeng Motors is aiming to manufacture electronic vehicles in Egypt. For the Beijing Hour, this is Gui Yan.
And for more on COVID-19, subscribe to our podcast, Coronavirus, What's Really Going On, which brings you everything you need to know about the novel coronavirus. At 23 past the hour, Chinese officials said the country's made remarkable progress in poverty alleviation by improving healthcare in rural areas, benefiting millions of rural households. And Sui has more.
Illness is one of the leading causes of poverty in rural China. To reduce the incidence of poverty caused by illnesses, Authorities have rolled out a series of favorable insurance policies for poor families. In the Tibet Autonomous Region, patients living in poverty can receive medical treatment before paying the expenses. For those living in extreme poverty, the costs will be fully covered by medical insurance. In Shanxi, over 90% of medical expenses for inpatients living in poverty can be covered by insurance, and the costs paid by individuals should not exceed 1,000 yuan per year in county-level hospitals.
Really?
Wang Huiming is a uremia patient living in Shouyang County, Shanxi Province. He must receive dialysis 3 times per week.
I have to get dialysis every other day, and it costs me 400 to 500 yuan each time, which I wouldn't be able to afford if there was no reimbursement policy.
In its latest guideline, the National Health and Family Planning Commission has promised full coverage of medical services in poverty-stricken areas by the end of this year. Last year, local medical insurance departments subsidized over 77 million people to participate in basic medical insurance. During the same period, the central government channeled 4 billion yuan, or around $570 million to improve medical services in poverty-stricken areas. Li Gengjian, deputy head of Pingyu County, Henan Province, says most recovered patients living in poverty will resume working ability.
We will focus on seriously ill and disabled people living in poverty, providing them with medical treatment. They will retain their confidence and labor ability to get out of poverty.
Alongside reducing financial burdens for patients living in poverty, efforts have also been made in improving medical capacities in rural areas. Authorities have encouraged city doctors to work in rural areas for a while. Liu Rong, with the #1 hospital affiliated to General Hospital of the Chinese People's Liberation Army, is one of those doctors.
If we can improve local doctor skills in the future, it will be more convenient for people in rural areas to see a doctor.
Meanwhile, the application of online treatment has provided an option for patients in rural areas to get access to qualified medical resources. For the Beijing Hour, I'm Su Yi.
Coming up, the flood alert level has been raised in regions along the Yangtze River. Want to know what's trending in China? China Plus News Facebook page helps you to discover the real China. From the latest news to Chinese inventions, videos, photos, live streaming, and more. Join in the conversation today by searching for China Plus News on Facebook and discover its news, its people, its traditions and culture. China Plus News Facebook page. Open your eyes to the real China. We're at 26 minutes past the hour. China's raised its flood response alert to the second highest grade as downpours continue to batter regions along the Yangtze River. In Jiangxi, water levels in Poyang Lake have surged above 22.5 meters. So far, over 200 rivers nationwide have exceeded alert levels, including 19 of them rising to historic highs. Central authorities have allocated over 300 million yuan, roughly $44 million for disaster relief in flood-hit regions. The China Earthquake Network Center is suggesting that the earthquake that hit Tangshan yesterday was an aftershock of a devastating earthquake from over 40 years ago. The 5.1 magnitude quake struck on Sunday morning, with strong tremors felt as far away as Beijing and Tianjin. No casualties have been reported. The 7.8 magnitude quake flattened Tangshan back in 1976, killing more than 240,000 people. Since then, over 300 aftershocks of magnitude 4.0 or higher have been recorded across the region. Local authorities say that the deadly bus crash in Guizhou last week was intentional. The tragedy happened when the bus smashed through a guardrail and fell into a reservoir in Anshun. 21 people were killed and 15 others injured. Authorities say the driver deliberately crashed the bus in an act of personal resentment. An autopsy also shows high levels of alcohol in the driver's body. The bus has been salvaged out of that lake.
Salvaged.
2 people are missing and 2 injured after an explosion at a biofuel plant in Fujian on Sunday. Investigators say the blast occurred as workers were doing maintenance. One of the injured is in critical condition. The company's website says it processes used cooking oil into biodiesel. All nearby residents have been evacuated to safety. We're at 28 minutes past the hour. Beijing will be overcast today, 29 degrees Celsius. Thunder showers developing this evening with a low of 22. Chongqing will get a slight rainfall and 29 degrees today. Tonight, the low is 24. Glass is getting some rain in 24, a low of 13. Hong Kong will see a slight rain and 30 degrees, and then down to 27 this evening. In North America, Washington, D.C. is overcast and 32 degrees Celsius. New York's getting a slight rain and 30. In Africa, Nairobi's overcast and 22. Finally, to Oceania, Port Vila is cloudy and 27 degrees Celsius. It's time for a short break. So far this hour, a WHO official says the novel coronavirus could have existed in an inactive state long before the outbreak began. Beijing continues to report no new locally transmitted cases of COVID-19. And the flood alert's been raised to the second highest level in regions along the Yangtze River in China. Shane Duggan with you. Stay with us here on the Beijing Hour.
Join the most popular Chinese language learning page on Facebook by searching for CRI Learn Chinese. It's a quick yet fun way to achieve your language goals. Start your free lessons now with unlimited videos, photos, and text tutorials on expression and Chinese culture. CRI Learn Chinese Facebook page. The world opens with 你好.
The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour brings you an hour of comprehensive news and information from both China and the rest of the world. A mix of news, sports, and entertainment. In-depth analysis of the day's big stories, as well as the most comprehensive business of the day. The Beijing Hour. The Beijing Hour. Your very own window to China and the rest of the world.
Want to know what's trending in China? China Plus News Facebook page helps you to discover the real China, from the latest news to quirky Chinese inventions, videos, photos, live streaming, and more. Join in the conversation today by searching for China Plus News on Facebook and discover its news, its people, its traditions, and culture. China Plus News Facebook page. Open your eyes to the real China.
Examining the events that impact and shape China and the rest of the world. This is the Beijing Hour, 1 hour of news and information brought to you every weekday.
Now, as usual, I'm Shane Duggan with you on this Monday morning. Still to come, in business, Shanghai Stock Exchange ranked second in global fundraising through the first half of the year. In sports, a 1-2 finish for the Mercedes F1 team. In culture and entertainment, Mickey Mouse is practicing social distancing in Florida. There are a number of ways to contact us. You can talk to us on Twitter at China Plus News or log on to Facebook, China Plus News, for more news, videos, and analysis. Now, today's headlines. The World Health Organization representative in Russia says the novel coronavirus could have existed in an inactive state long before the outbreak. Malika Vojnovic says the virus lived in animals and passed to humans at some point, but it's hard to say when and where the passing happened. Spanish virologists have discovered traces of the virus in a sample of Barcelona wastewater that was collected in March of last year, 9 months before the COVID-19 outbreak in China. Samples of sewage water from 2 Italian cities also showed traces of the virus in December. Vojnovic says those samples are still being studied, and if there's any revolutionary result, the WHO will immediately announce it. China's raised its flood response alert to the second highest grade as downpours continue to batter regions along the Yangtze River. In Jiangxi, water levels in Huaiyang Lake have surged above 22.5 meters. So far, over 200 rivers nationwide have exceeded alert levels, including 19 at record highs. Central authorities have allocated over 300 million yuan, roughly 44 million US dollars, for disaster relief in flood-hit regions. The China Earthquake Network Center is suggesting that the earthquake that hit Tangshan yesterday was an aftershock of a devastating earthquake from over 40 years ago. The 5.1 magnitude quake struck on Sunday morning, with strong tremors felt as far away as Beijing and Tianjin. No casualties have been reported. A 7.8 magnitude quake flattened Tangshan in 1976, killing more than 240,000 people. Since then, over 300 aftershocks of magnitude 4.0 or higher have been recorded in the region. Local authorities say that the deadly bus crash in Guizhou last week was intentional. The tragedy happened when the bus smashed through a guardrail and fell into a reservoir in Anshun. 21 people were killed and 15 others injured. Authorities say the driver deliberately crashed that bus in an act of personal resentment. An autopsy also shows high levels of alcohol in the driver's body. The bus has been salvaged out of that lake. 2 people are missing and 2 injured after an explosion at a biofuel plant in Fujian on Sunday. Investigators say the blast occurred as workers were doing maintenance. One of the injured is in critical condition. The company's website says it processes used cooking oil into biodiesel. All nearby residents have been evacuated to safety. 18 sailors have been injured in a fire on a U.S. Navy ship in California. It happened on the USS Bonhomme Richard, docked at Naval Base San Diego. Around 160 sailors were on board when that fire was reported. All of the injured sailors have been transferred to hospital, and their injuries are not life-threatening. An overnight fire has caused extensive damage to the San Gabriel Mission, one of California's most historic landmarks. The 249-year-old adobe church contains numerous artifacts that date back to the 1790s, including hand-carved statues from Spain. San Gabriel Mayor Denise Menchaca says the church was undergoing renovations when it was gutted by the fire.
There's so much history here. You know, we are celebrating our 250-year anniversary. We had a huge campaign taking place, raising money to renovate. Just yesterday, the pews have been redone. They were put inside, brand new pews. And then this happened. It just breaks your heart.
The historic San Gabriel Mission was founded by a Spanish missionary. It was functioning as both a Roman Catholic church and as a museum. The cause of the fire is being investigated. An exit poll shows that Poland's incumbent president holds a slim lead in a tight race after a runoff election on Saturday. The exit poll by the Ipsos Institute showed that Andrzej Duda was ahead with 50.4% of the votes, and his opponent had 49.6%. The difference between the 2 candidates is within the poll's margin of error of plus or minus 2 percentage points. Official results are expected sometime today or tomorrow. The Israeli Prime Minister has promised to provide speedy financial help for self-employed workers following protests over the government's response to the coronavirus pandemic. Around 10,000 people demonstrated in central Tel Aviv on Saturday, demanding that the government fulfill its promise to assist workers suffering due to the virus restrictions. Benjamin Netanyahu says workers will receive an immediate stipend and could expect a safety net for the next 12 months.
We will declare an immediate advance to the self-employed and controlling shareholders. This support, this grant, is not dependent on legislation, and we have instructed that it be put into effect today. Today already, the button will be pressed and the money will reach accounts in the coming days.
Netanyahu also pledged to ease bureaucratic hurdles and to hold dialogue with workers' representatives to solve outstanding issues. Israel recently reimposed restrictions, closing bars, event spaces, and other venues because of a spike in coronavirus cases. This is Shane Diggum live from the Chinese capital. Coming up in business, a look ahead at what to expect from the markets this week.
You're listening to the Beijing Hour, 60 minutes of comprehensive news, your window on China and the world.
37 minutes past the hour, turning to business, and the COVID-19 pandemic and its impacts on the world economy will continue to dominate headlines in the stock market this week. Global investors will also turn their attention to earnings season. Major banks, including JP Morgan and Bank of America, are among the first to report. The financial sector is expected to see more than a 50% decline in profits. Netflix, Pepsi, and other companies will also report their financial results in the next couple of days. Earnings for the S&P 500 are expected to decline by 44%, which will be the worst drop in 12 years. Market participants will also pay attention to how the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic will affect the reopening and recovery of the world economy. On the economic front, CPI inflation data will be released on Tuesday. Market attention will also be focused on the monthly retail sales data, which is due out on Thursday. In Europe, traders will be watching the ECB rate decision, as well as an EU summit to reach agreement on a recovery fund. A fresh update on UK GDP data will also draw attention. Financial analyst Cao Chen has more on what to expect from the stock market this week.
So for this week, I think the performance of the U.S. stock market will have a lot to do with the earnings that will be released this week. We can expect a lot of negative earnings this week, which would produce negative sentiment. And in the long term, I think investors will also factor in the fact that a lot of these companies have been propped up by stimulus. And once business and individual stimulus expires at the end of this month, then a lot of those earnings could disappear. So that would negatively impact the valuation of many of these companies. For the Asia market, we could look at many factors, including inflation number. We've seen a rebound in the price of pork and many other consumer prices. If inflation continues to accelerate, that could push up interest rates, and that would negatively affect market sentiment and market valuation.
That was financial analyst Cao Chen with a preview of what to expect from the markets this week. A report by KPMG shows that the Shanghai Stock Exchange ranked second in global fundraising during the first half of the year, backed by sizable listings and the continuing popularity of the Bourse's Sci-Tech Innovation Board, commonly known as the Star Market. Proceeds from global initial public offerings decreased 8% year-on-year to $68.8 billion during the first 6 months, mostly due to a decline in the funds raised in major stock exchanges in the United States and Europe. But the fall was partly offset by an increase in fundraising in the Asia market, especially the Shanghai Stock Exchange. Building on the success of the Star Market, Shenzhen's Chinex board launched a registration-based system. Chinex's first batch of registration-based IPOs is expected to debut in the third quarter of this year. China's central bank says renminbi-denominated cross-border trade settlement hit nearly 3.1 trillion yuan, or $440 billion in the first half of the year. The People's Bank of China says close to 2.2 trillion yuan came from cross-border trade in goods, and 890 billion yuan came from cross-border trade in services and other current account items. Yuan-denominated direct investment settlement hit 1.7 trillion yuan in the first 6 months of the year. With more on this, Joe Feng spoke to Sarah Xu, a visiting scholar of Fudan University.
So what's your major takeaway from the renminbi-denominated cross-border trade settlement in the first half of this year?
Well, the current account settlement in renminbi has remained relatively steady over a long period of time. And, this is a good thing because the growth of renminbi cross-border trade settlement has helped expand the use of the renminbi. And it's increased every year because China is open on the current account. So this allows firms to buy and sell goods and services with foreign firms while also being able to maintain some currency stability.
Looking forward, what are the advantages of using the renminbi in international trade?
Well, the main reason to settle trade in renminbi is that the foreign firm can gain a price advantage. So Chinese corporations often add up to 5% to their quotes in foreign currencies in order to hedge against potentially negative exchange rate movements. But if the trade counterparties are willing to actually trade in renminbi, then they can eliminate this upcharge and bear the exchange risk. As we see larger and larger numbers of firms conducting trade with China, the renminbi has become increasingly important.
Then, apart from the application in cross-border trade, how can China speed up the internationalization of its currency?
Well, China can continue to open up its capital accounts, which it's doing, and this would, the overall internationalization of the renminbi would allow China to have lower borrowing costs and also reduce their exchange rate risk. So China right now is working to open its capital accounts really slowly but surely by doing things like allowing foreign firm participation in areas like insurance and futures. And the process is very gradual because the government wants to try to maintain currency stability.
That was Sarah Xu, visiting scholar of Fudan University, talking about renminbi-denominated cross-border trade settlement in the first half of the year. Shanghai will allow road testing of self-driving vehicles on more than 30 kilometers of road in the city's Pudongnu area. It's the first open road for self-driving testing in downtown Shanghai, or rather in the downtown area of a megacity in China. Shanghai had previously designated several open test roads in the suburbs. Authorities say smart roads will be built in the future for coordinated testing of roads in self-driving vehicles. Survey shows that the majority of Chinese citizens are positive about future income growth, despite pressure from COVID-19. Over 80% of the surveyed respondents are either optimistic or neutral about the likelihood of increased income in the next 1 or 2 years. Many of them say they will increase their savings to counter the economic impacts of the pandemic. Around 40% say they'll consider investments and wealth management products. China will build a national data center for the industrial internet and strengthen the supervision and coordination of overseas listings of Chinese industrial internet companies. The industrial internet refers to the convergence of industrial systems with the power of advanced computing, analytics, sensing, and new levels of connectivity. The Ministry of Industry and Information Technology says it'll step up efforts to encourage the construction of a batch of industrial internet data centers across China as part of its broader push to accelerate an industrial upgrade. The ministry will continue its goal of encouraging 400,000 enterprises to adopt cloud services and to use industrial internet platforms to do research and development, as well as design, manufacturing, and management work, along with other services. More on this, we spoke to principal consultant Mike Baston with Business Development International. To what extent will industrial internet help to promote the upgrading in China's manufacturing sector?
I think it could be quite significant. I think it's the time where cooperation, collaboration via the internet, industries cooperating with each other vertically and horizontally could prove significant in promoting not just the modernization of Chinese manufacturing, but also the further internationalization.
Well, China aims to build 3 to 5 industrial internet platforms, which will reach international standards by 2025. What challenges are in the way as China tries to achieve this goal?
Well, first of all, I think it's a tremendous ambition, and it's another very positive message about the further modernization and integration of the Chinese economy. I think in terms of challenges, obviously it's the first time that this has really been attempted. The world economy is turmoil at the moment. So I think integration across industries is a challenge, and across such a vast geographical landscape, I think that's the challenge. But it's very, very positive to post this message at this time.
Well, how is industrial internet being applied in the world's major industrial nations right now?
Well, it's all about integration across industries, so typically oil and gas related industries, across supply chains, so sharing data and sharing the operation of that data, and therefore increasing the efficiency and the effectiveness and the flexibility of supply chains and information that allows that supply chain to work better. So it really is taking off, and it's great to see that China is really aware of this, and they're making very, very positive statements and targets to match what's happening in the West.
And that was Principal Consultant Mike Baston with Business Development International, talking about China's decision to build a national data center for the industrial internet. You're listening to the Beijing Hour. Coming up in sports, the Mercedes F1 team raced to a 1-2 finish.
The Beijing Hour. Hello, I'm Peter Dinklage from X-Men Days of Future Past. You are listening to the Beijing Hour.
Hi, I'm Kathy Freeman. You're listening to the Beijing Hour.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lang Lang. Welcome to the Beijing Hour.
The Beijing Hour, your window to China and the world.
So what if I identify as
47 past the hour now, and it's time for sports. Here's Youngguang.
Thank you, Shane. In Formula One, the 6-time world champion Lewis Hamilton dominated the Styrian Grand Prix in Mercedes 1-2 finish. Hamilton started from the pole position and was hotly challenged as he finished the seasonable 13 seconds ahead of teammate Valtteri Bottas.
What a weird year it is, but it's great to be back up here and to be driving at that kind of with this kind of performance. The team did a fantastic job with the strategy, and then just for me to just keep it together, stay off the curbs.
How many other cars?
Max Verstappen completed the podium at his team's home track after starting on the front row and being passed by Bottas in the closing stages. Ferrari had another nightmare race as Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel collided again on the opening lap and both retired from the race. Leclerc says he takes responsibility for the accident.
I hope I will learn from this and we'll come back stronger for the next races. But it's a tough time for the team. We don't need that. The team don't need that, and I put all the efforts of the team in the bin. So I'm very sorry, but it's not enough again.
Sunday's race was the first time a circuit has hosted back-to-back rounds in the same championship year. Bottas now leads the driver's standings on 6 points. In the English Premier League, Tottenham came from behind to beat Arsenal 2-1 to keep alive the hopes of Europa League football next season. Jose Mourinho tasted his big victory in his first North London derby, and the Spurs overtook the Gunners at 8th